now I have my image placed, I've got a layer that I can work on, and I have my reference image on a locked layer, and the image I can work on is above the other layer. I'm now going to go to Google, and I started searching for penguin images. Notice that if you do an image search and you click on Tools, it toggles down this menu and you can go to Size and say specifically I only want to see large images. As I was going through, I found this penguin that was already isolated on a white background. So I'm looking at this penguin, I think he'd make a really great tooth, so I want to save this. I'm going to click on it with 2 fingers, which is the equivalent of a right click on a Mac, or if you have a mouse, you're going to do a right click. And I get Save Image As. I'm going to save it. I'm going to call it Penguin 1. You can see I did it already. Save. Let's just replace it. Okay. Now we go grab it. And all I'm going to do is just drag it into my already existing Photoshop file and drop it there. Okay, first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of that white background. So one tool I like is the Quick Selection tool, which you'll find over here. With my Quick Selection tool, I'm going to come in and I'm going to draw over all the things that are penguin. And as I'm going, it's recognizing what I'm doing and helping me out. Come out into the feet. Okay, now let's say with this tool it took a little bit too much. Maybe you didn't have a nice clean image on a white background. I can come up here and I can actually adjust. So I want to take out this little nubbin that was added down here. See it there? I'm going to go minus up here. I'm going to come down here, and now what I draw is taken out of my selection. So I'm just bringing my cursor along that to refine it to really make sure it's just the feet showing up and nothing else. Okay, now I have my penguin selected. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say Command C to copy. I'm going to come down here and make a new layer. And Command V to paste that isolated penguin in a new layer. Now I can delete this old one. And I'm left with just a nice isolated penguin that I can work with a little better. So let's take him. And you can see if I click on that Move tool up here, I now get the transform controls. And I'm going to start to transform him. But notice, as I'm moving him, you may notice that he distorts. So if you're noticing distortion, click on this little lock up here. So I've got them locked already, which is maintain aspect ratio. If I took that off and I was dragging him, I could accidentally get a really fat penguin or a really thin penguin. You may want that, but if you don't want it, I'm going to do Command Z to undo. Command Z is always your best friend. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to make sure those are locked. So now when I drag my penguin, he stays looking the same. He doesn't get too fat or skinny. Now another thing is as I'm adjusting and moving things around, I'm finding it a bit hard to see my reference image because it's obscured now by the piece in front of it. So one thing that you might want to do is just for a moment unlock your background reference image and Command C to copy. Go down here to create a new layer. And then in that new layer, Command V to paste. I'm going to go back down to the original. I'm going to make sure it's locked. And now on this one, I'm going to go to opacity, and I'm going to put the opacity down. So now, if I move the penguin layer, and let's call this penguin, I'm going to rename it so I know what this is. I just double clicked on it. Now I'm going to do penguin, return, and I'm just going to move it behind that layer that I changed the opacity on. And now you can see that I can work with my penguin and still see the original reference image. So I may even want to take the opacity down on it a little bit more so I can see the penguin a little bit more clearly. Good, and now it's just this nice ghost image. So I've got that on the top. You can lock that too if you want, so you don't accidentally move it. And now I'm working with just the penguin here. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just using my fingers on the trackpad to zoom. Okay, and now I'm going to scale down my penguin and get it just on the tooth there. Be a little bit smaller. Good. Okay, and you can use your keyboard arrows to move things up and down too, so I'm just moving up on my keyboard arrow right now. Now I'm going to want a couple penguins because these are going to make my teeth. Command C to copy, Command V to paste, and now I've got another penguin. I want him facing the other way, so these two teeth are two penguins facing each other. So I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, and now I've got my two penguins facing each other. I'm going to bring them down and just arrow key over to get it in the right position. Okay, so there are my two penguin teeth. You can see that each of them has ended up on their own layer. So I actually want to merge them into one layer. That's just going to be all the penguin teeth. So I'm going to hold Shift to select both. I'm going to right click again by clicking with two fingers on the trackpad. Going down, I'm going to say merge layers. And so now I have both penguins on the same layer. I can even say penguins. And that's my start. I'm going to go through and make the rest of my teeth. And then I'm going to talk to you next about what you do when you have an object that's a little bit more difficult to edit. So we'll go over that in the next video.